Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here with Kurt Levens and Kevin McCurdy. Welcome, gentlemen.
You know, it's a big game when there's three of us on the screen at the same time.
It's one for each goal, right? Come
right?
on.
Yeah. Which one of us gets the empty netter?
That was a good one, though.
Yeah, they're finally draining those.
The Edmonton Oilers finally bring their A game. They play championship defense. They carried over remarkably from the overtime domination where they had overtime in game 4 where they had 10 grade A shots to 2 for the opposition. This game, 22 grade A shots for the Oilers, 6 for the Kings. The subset of more dangerous 5 alarm shots were 14-3. Expected goals for the Oilers in this game were 6.2 goals. They scored 3, 1 into an empty net. Expected goals for the Kings, 1.6. They scored 1. So it's going to be a tough night, guys, to pick the bad things. And our three good things, 3 bad things, and 3 numbers podcast. It's hard to find something that didn't go that well for the Oilers in this game. They just smoked them. Let's get right into it. Kevin, we'll start you off. What is your good thing?
I thought Jake Walman had a fantastic outing. The stat cards agree with me. The stat sheet agrees with me. Just, he was doing all the right things. He was making passes that he needed to make. He had some really solid opportunities that, a couple of real solid shots that were pretty close to actually ending up in the back of the net. And just overall, very, very strong effort from Jake tonight. I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, he had a pass early in the an outside shot early in the sequence on Kane's goal as they're buzzing around that. He initiated that with an outside shot that Hyman starts blasting away at in front of the net. I think they only credited Hyman with 1 shot, but I'm pretty sure he got 3 in that sequence before it came back out and Klingberg put it over to Kane. But Walman, he's really skating well.
Yeah, I don't know if he's finally kicked what was up with his, I think, again, foot, ankle, something like that. But he was looking really solid tonight. He was finding the space that he needed to. He was making smart breakouts. Not really any egregious mistakes that I can think of. If this is the Jake Walman we're getting, man, we got to steal. That's all I can say about that.
He also made a stretch pass on Janmark's goal. He got the puck out there, so...
Yeah.
Did they ever lean? I mean, it's like they conjured up out of nothingness. I mean, they did give up a first-round pick for Walman, but the second pairing of Klingberg and Walman, and those boys are playing some solid hockey. They're getting the job done, and that's, there was massive criticism about Klingberg, the Klingberg signing on social media, right up until he started playing well here, and it was more positive with Walman, but he's coming through. Kurt, your good thing.
My good thing is a member of the Los Angeles Kings. Darcy Kemper, I thought, was the best player on the ice tonight. The shots were 46-22. Utter and total domination by the Oilers. This was one of those games where you sat back and thought, I wonder if we're going to get goalie tonight.
Oh,
because the Oilers were rolling from the first shift, man. Like, they did not take a shift off tonight. But this guy just stoned them over and over and over again.
20 shots in the first period?
Yeah, and at some point you start to think, at least I do, when those don't go in, you kind of wait for one to go down and go in at the other end, right? That's so often how the hockey gods work. But it didn't tonight. The Oilers persisted. They kept at it. They kept going to the net. And finally, they break through on a rare mistake by Kemper. The blocker save and the rebound goes right to Mattias Janmark. And Mattias Janmark, he of the guy who scored 2 goals all season long.
And none of them against a real goalie or
none of them against a
goalie
stick. Has 2 in the Stanley Cup playoffs now. So I thought if they didn't give Darcy Kemper the first start tonight, they should have. He was spectacular. But the Oilers didn't let his scintillating start deter them. They stuck with it to the end, and were full marks for the 3-1 win.
Who says there's no good Canadian goalies? I mean, halfway through the game, I'm thinking, he's Canadian, right? Like, because
yeah, we had a chance to land him too at one point, I think, and that just never really materialized.
He was the only reason this game was close. It could have been a 6-1, 7-1 game. Like, seriously,
he chose Washington as a free agent over Edmonton, and
that's
how we ended up with
Jack.
That's how we got Jack Campbell.
Yeah,
is that decision by Kemper. Now, then he hurt his eye, but he seems to be over this eye injury that he had that was hampering him. 6'5", he's 34 years old. He could easily be on Team Canada. Like him and Binnington would be the obvious choices. Maybe there'll be some other players. Logan Thompson might be.
Logan Thompson, if he wasn't, well, I guess he wasn't as hurt as I thought he might be. But yeah, no, great stuff.
So. Kurt, my good thing is Evander Kane, and he broke the logjam. The Oilers had just been. I agree with you. It's just like you're just thinking, this is horrible. They can't get a bounce. Then LA gets a bounce, and they're up 1-0. And I'm just thinking, like this is the Oilers have got to score soon. They're just pouring it on. They should have 3 or 4 goals by now, and finally they get a bounce. Finally, the puck comes. It's one on the boards after a furious hacking attempt by Hyman in front of the net to score. It's one on the boards by Klingberg. Super cool, calm John Klingberg, and he makes a very nice pass to Kane in the high slot. This is not a scoring area, but Kane has a really hard shot.
He does.
And he gets it off. He gets a hard shot off, and it deflects off Gavrikov, kicks off Gavrikov's foot, I guess. Never did see exactly what it hit, but ticks off Gavrikov and into the top part of the net, and it's 1-1. And it just felt, as someone watching this game, experiencing a lot of anxiety and tension, it felt really good to get a bounce like that. The Oilers needed that desperately in that moment. And Kane he was hitting hard. He blocked a shot at the end of the game. Both he and Nugent Hopkins made excellent block shots right in the final 2 minutes of the game. He got rammed hard into his own net, and he didn't retaliate. He just sucked it up. He took it. He was, there's a lot of doubt about Evander Kane heading into these playoffs. There was people who were saying he's not. Yep. They didn't see it. I've always thought they need Evander Kane if they're going to win the Stanley Cup. Yeah. You need players like him, and he's doing it. He's being Evander Kane.
And he's getting better every game, which is kind of scary, right? This train's picking up speed.
His skating tonight was like miles even ahead of last game, which was miles ahead of the previous game.
It speaks to what a terrific athlete he is. This guy missed 10 months, and he's jumped into the fray when the game is at its very highest speed and skill and agility. And he's dominating out there. Like, it's astounding how he's come so far, given the setbacks that he was facing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Kane train. Smokestack lightning.
I was a doubter, though. I gotta say, I
just never liked him much either, Kevin.
No, and the reason is because we have a storied history with 32-plus-year-old power forwards where those contracts just go, frankly, right into the shitter. And like, we had this problem with Lucic. We had this problem with
James Neal.
With James Neal, with Zach Kassian. Like, we've been here before, and he's beaten the odds. At the beginning, when Low Tide asked me on his show a couple weeks back what I thought, and I thought at that point that there was a possibility that Kane had already played his last game as an Oiler. And man, am I glad I was wrong about that, but I was very wrong about that assessment. And he has been an absolute force.
I think it's fair for anyone to have doubted just how close to the real Evander Kane he would be. But I think the people who did doubt him probably underestimated one thing, which is how much of a competitor he is.
Yeah.
Right? It just drips from his teeth, man.
Yeah.
He's built like Gordie Howe, and Gordie Howe played till he was 50. Like Gordie Howe was one big muscle, and Kane is the same. So I was actually thinking, no, He's not too old. He's had a whole year off to get healthy, finally get healthy. He played great when he was at 70%, then 50%, and then he stopped playing great at about 30% in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
But he is an incredible physical specimen. He is a slab of muscle, and I thought he'll be fine. All right, bad things. Kevin, what's your bad thing?
Again, as you said, slim pickings. Like, I think we had to have a little round table before we started just to even find 3 bad things in this game. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a wild Hail Mary swing here and say the first goal against. And it's the penalty kill. You want to block there. You want Rico to not chase. I think it was Kempe into the corner. You want a few things out of that play. They got a somewhat lucky tip on it. It was about the worst thing that I can think of in this game. And if that's the worst thing that happens to them in a game of hockey, it was a pretty damn good game of hockey.
Yeah, Nugent Hopkins lost the face-off on the play as well.
Yeah.
So, it's...
a tale as old as time. Oilers losing D-zone face-offs? What?
Yeah.
I thought Nucci's got to get out there and block that shot. And he was... I know what he was doing. He was worried about the cross-seam pass.
Yeah.
Seems to me that's kind of... Yeah, he's got to be aware of that, but that's really the second guy, Henrique, who's below him in the formation.
Rico was up near the top, though, right? And he rotated down with Kempe, and I think that was where the mistake started.
Nuge might have thought he's not there to block that pass. He did get back, Henrique. And it's a Californian, we call those goals. Yep. Outside shots from tipped in, specialties of Californian teams forever against the Oilers. Not so much lately. It's how good teams score, and teams that are veteran teams score. That was a really good goal that the Kings manufactured, and it was a brutal shot to the Oilers in that moment because they had just been outplaying the Kings like crazy. Kurt, what's your bad thing?
My bad thing is the missed call on Quinton Byfield. Puck goes into the LA crease. The puck's sitting there wide open. And Quinton Byfield jumps into the crease and puts not one, but both hands on the puck in the crease. That's a penalty shot. It's a penalty shot. And where's the referee? Exactly where the referee should be on that play. He's right behind the net looking at it.
Yeah.
And doesn't call it. I don't get it. I was just shouting at my screen. It's like how much closer can the referee be and see a play and not call it? Like, it's just unless he saw something that all of those replays didn't show us, like he tucked it under his chest or something. I watched that
I think
six
the
times.
cat pause thing that he did on the ice there,
it's like how, especially at that critical moment in the game, how do you not call that? Although I got to say, the referees didn't seem interested in giving the suddenly angelic Los Angeles Kings more than the power play that they gave them tonight.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with that. And I was expecting the ref's arm to go up and him to point at center because that's a textbook penalty shot. They're super rare. They almost never get called. It almost never happens. But that was, I don't understand how it could be any more obvious than that. Whatever, we pulled out the W. Like, that's, that kind of stuff drives us crazy here in Edmonton. But
Yep.
The Hockey Night in Canada crew also said that was a penalty, BX and the other ones. Yeah. I actually didn't see the hand go on the puck. I just thought he might have covered it with his chest, and I was wondering if it's under your chest, is that a penalty? Are you allowed to kill it with your body? But you guys actually saw his hand?
It was like the cat chasing a cat toy, right? Like he was just doing the scramble paws with his...
So he's using his hand, but he didn't... Yeah, I don't know.
But he used the palms of his gloves, and you can't do that.
Okay. My bad thing is, and this is tough because to single out one player is a bad thing. It's almost too much in this game. But and Darnell Nurse did have a strong end to the game.
Yeah,
and he had strong moments in the game. But there was also moments where I was just thinking, are you going to give away this game? Because he was erratic in moments, and it was, I think the two penalties kind of typified it. He didn't have to take either of those penalties.
Yep.
You've got to be careful with your stick. you've got to be aware of what you're doing. You don't jam your stick into the guy's skates, a marginal player, a fourth line player, as he's trying to go around you. He doesn't even have an angle really an angle to go around you. He's not a fast player. Why did you do that? Again, it happens in hockey though. And then the second one, it's the plays, it's not in a real danger zone. He's trying to win a battle, and he wedges his stick in there and takes a guy out with it, knocks him down in the third period. And again, anyone who's played hockey realizes how easy it is to make that kind of foul on someone.
Yep.
To take that kind of penalty. Nonetheless, we're looking for bad things, and those were bad things. Those were not good penalties. They were not penalties on people in scoring positions in the Oilers zone, and especially the first one. I just thought, just be aware. And there was other moments just when he had the puck, he just seemed a little bit lackadaisical.
He was one step behind. He was a little bit he was struggling with angles tonight a little bit, I think, in terms of just having the line that even he usually has, right? And I do think that I just want to reiterate your point. He was I tweeted about it. I said he needs to find his brain, and he promptly found his brain and made me look like an idiot after that, because he played some exceptional hockey to close out the last 5 or so minutes of the third period. And I'm glad, honestly. I don't mind looking dumb if he's doing what he's supposed to. If he's doing what he's supposed to do, right? So, I'll take the lumps for it. But he was better after that point. But there was definitely some struggles that just left me going. Every time he was near the puck, just sort of make me tense up a little bit, right? And it's pretty hard to play hockey like that, right?
Yeah. What do you think, Kurt?
I don't disagree with anything as Kevin's saying, but in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking he's also playing toughs against the Kings' best players.
Yep.
At a game that's being played at an exceedingly high speed. That was a real fast hockey game.
Yeah.
And so I think you're right to point out the mistakes. I saw the same ones. Do you want him to be more solid through the full 60? You absolutely do. But he's also taken on the Kings' best players.
I guess it's a matter of expectation, because I've seen Darnell Nurse play really great hockey. Mm-hmm. And I know to win the cup, again, if you're going to win the cup, he must bring his A game. He must play that in the playoffs. And he has consistently struggled to do that. And it's getting to be a little bit mystifying about why that is. Does he just get too amped up? What's going on? If he can do it, the Oilers can win the cup, because he can be such a solid, excellent hockey player. I just think, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but
you just want that little bit. You want that little bit, especially after he closed out Game 82 playing as strongly as he did this season, right? You just want that little bit more from him. And he's so he does a lot of things right, and he catches a lot of unnecessary hate, but the mistakes are sometimes really bad. And to be fair, Bouchard and him were loads better than they were in the previous game. Loads, yes, right?
Agreed.
They hands down. Yeah, but that pairing struggled for the last couple of games especially, and they put out a solid game where they were mostly on the same page.
I like the calm of Klingberg. I think he's such a confident player with the puck, and I think Nurse could be calm like that if he just had a little bit more calm there. Slow it down, and he can make the big play.
David,
Kurt?
to your point, that Klingberg play on the wall where he beat Doughty off the wall and fed Kane for that goal.
That's the pass I was talking about,
right?
Man. That's just ice, cool as a cucumber.
Ice
right?
in your veins, right? Terrific play against a really a world-class player. That wasn't you weren't beating young Clark off the boards. That was Drew Doughty.
Yeah.
Alrighty, numbers. Kevin, what you got?
I just want to talk about ice time, to be honest with you. I don't want to talk about a specific number. I want to talk about all the numbers, and that's just how different the breakdown in ice time is between the two teams. And there is one player in the defensive core that is that is at the 10-minute mark, and there are 2 players in the forward core that are under the 10-minute mark, which are Arvidsson and Podkolzin. But it's a lot more evenly distributed than what the Kings are doing. Like, it's not particularly close. Let's see here. What did the Kings do?
Turcotte was at 508, Malott at 518, and Sammy Halinas at 405.
Yeah, like there's this block of players on the graph that I'm looking at that are in the 17 to 21 minute range, and then there's 3 guys at the bottom with assorted commercial breaks for shifts, right? Like it's not evenly distributed. You kind of wonder what Jim Hillier is doing with his lineup. Like, if you don't trust the guys, have you got nobody else in your system that can play? Because you're running your team ragged, and it's starting to show.
I think one of the Oilers' best players this series has been the LA coach.
Well, it's not. I agree with you, but hopefully he doesn't hear this message, because the last thing we need to do for him is to flip the table. And he was trying some crazy stuff at the end of the game.
I like
too,
that
with
putting
the 4.
Playing Kempe on
that was smart.
He's I don't think he's on a very even keel. I don't know if you saw it, but he took a bite out of the LA media post game the other night. Like, really lost his cool. And look in the mirror, buddy.
We talked about that in the previous pod, and basically what I had said before, and I'm going to reiterate that again, is it doesn't show your team that you have a lot of confidence right now. It shows that you're rattled. It shows the media that you're rattled. It shows the fan base that you're rattled of both teams.
Good call.
And you're exposing your jugular, right? Like, that's, the Oilers are now in kill shot territory, and having a rattled coach is not really conducive to rallying the troops, right?
Well,
and hopefully the Oilers can end it and be done with this series, but we'll see how they play in Game 6.
It's no doubt in the back of his mind that he blew the series last year too. He's probably thinking he's going to get fired if they bow out this time.
And I think even if he listened to us, he would, because last year in the playoffs, we were all over that PK, that passive PK, and they stuck with it the whole time. So it doesn't matter what we say. He could hear us, and it wouldn't matter.
Oh, come on! Of course he's listening.
Okay, I'm a hair more superstitious when it comes to hockey stuff than some people around here. But
Don't worry, Kevin. My wife has invented a little dance, and when the Kings are on the power play, she does it for the full 2 minutes. And it worked
cool. While I was drinking, right?
And at the end of the game. She invented it after they scored on the power play. Okay. Every family and every household has got superstitions right now. These games are brutal. They're so full of tension. But they're so compelling and so exciting as well. And mine is, adding to the intensity of it. 2 guys, Podkolzin tonight had 6 hits in 7 minutes. So he's almost like a hit a minute kind of guy. He's not getting a ton of ice time, and neither is Arvidsson. But when they're out there, they are effective. And
Arvidsson honestly was really good tonight, even in his limited minutes. I thought he was hungry and he was finding. Well, it was his shot that went off of.
Was.
And you have to wonder if that was a set play, right? Like, or not. I guess not a set play, but a strategy. Like, I wonder if he was going for the rebound. But him and Janmark have been clicking a little bit, and I've liked what I've seen there.
And the other hit count was Zach Hyman with 10. I think Zach Hyman came into the playoffs dinged up. Man, he is just really going for it.
He's still getting banged around pretty good.
Fantastic hockey player. He just goes and goes and goes. He's been, great, excellent value for his contract ever since he arrived in Edmonton. And in terms of what's that Toronto guy that everyone thought was such a hockey genius who let him go? I mean, if Toronto's ever wondering why they haven't done so well in the playoffs, you let go of a player like Zach Hyman, you're not doing it right as the GM, and that was a huge mistake. Oh, Kyle Dubas. Yeah.
There was a
Kyle Dubas.
There was a famous hockey tweet from an unnamed account on Twitter that said that Hyman's contract was the worst in the league, and then that very season he went on to do 60 goals and just crazy stuff. Like, he's just over $5 million.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
What
tweet
an insane
shows up in
value.
my feed a couple times a week. It's it's pretty sweet.
Yeah. No, that dude has not lived that tweet down since.
And
And
never will.
no, he finally took it down. He finally deleted the original, I think, about
But-
a year after. And I think he was tired of people quote tweeting it and making
But there's
fun
a
of him.
million screenshots out there.
Yeah.
The internet doesn't forget.
It does not. Long memory.
Alrighty, I think we have covered the territory of that game. Any final thoughts from anybody?
My number, 33.
Oh, sorry, Kurt.
It's okay. Evander Kane's 33rd playoff goal is an Edmonton Oiler that ties him for 22nd all-time in franchise history with Doug Weight.
Wow. That's a lot of goals. Of course, he had about half of those in 1 year
Right?
when he first came, but he was really good in the playoffs last year till injury took him out, and he's coming on strong. This is an interesting lineup. I know there was a lot of chagrin and second guessing in the first couple games, and who knows if puck doesn't go in off Drew Doughty's skate in game 4.
This is a
could
very
be
different series.
Who knows how it's going to turn out?
Yeah.
But this was the team they envisioned, a veteran team of smart and gritty hockey players with skill, and it's coming together right now. And they're still missing Matthias Ekholm. And has there been some reports that Ekholm is responding to treatment, so to speak?
Yes, and responding well to treatment. If the Oilers can keep going, they expect him to be able to be back at some point. And at some point, I know we all thought and heard that he was maybe gone for the season. He isn't necessarily now. Won't play in this series. It's quite possible he won't play the next series either. But if the Oilers could get to a third round, it sounds like he might be able to go.
That's the timeline I've heard too, is that, third round is probably about the earliest. I don't want them to rush Ekholm. If we can go deep, I do want them to make sure he's healthy this time because, number one, a re-injury again would be a crushing for the Oilers. It would also be crushing for Matthias. Like, you looked at his face on the bench when he tweaked whatever he tweaked, and he was visibly crushed. Like, he knew it was over and that he was going to be out a minute, and you could tell just by the look on his face. And that man is a bloody Viking, and he doesn't give away much of anything most of the time.
Meanwhile, Troy Stetcher has been cleared. He can play. And
Klingberg's doing the job right now.
I wouldn't take Klingberg out.
Klingberg.
I think if
Emerson.
anybody comes out, it's Emberson, and Emberson I thought had his best game of the playoffs tonight. So
I think Emberson's better on the penalty kill than Stetcher is.
He is.
My hot take. I think Stetcher's a better passer and skater probably, but Emberson's not afraid to get dirty when it matters in the corners, and it takes a lot of abuse to do what he does.
He's a good partner for Nurse, Stetcher is, and they seem to work well together. So I think that might be in their minds if they go back to Stetcher. But if Ekholm does come back, they could go with Walman, Nurse, Ekholm, Klingberg, Bouchard, Kulak. Those are 6 pretty good defensemen.
yes, please.
Yes,
I'd really like to see more of that Kulak-Bouchard pairing because, like I said in the previous pod, like I get some of Ekholm's vibes from Kulak. He's an exceptional skater. He's a very defensively minded defenseman, and he can cover up for Bouchard. And he recognizes danger better than Bouchard does, which is a problem for Bouch. But I thought everybody tonight had largely a pretty strong game.
Yeah, I agree.
Bouchard certainly recognized danger late in the third period when he saved a goal. Shooting the puck off Kopitar's stick right from the open net. I mean, that was the key play of the game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if that goes in, yikes! I think the score was 1-1 at that point, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check, and that would have been brutal.
So who had Calvin Pickard potentially beating Darcy Kemper in a 7-game playoff series?
I was rather outspoken when they went to Pickard in the second game that they needed to go back to Skinner. I honestly still think it could have worked out either way, and they probably would have been okay. I've had some feedback from people that They're glad, and you know what? I'll take my lumps. They made the right call sticking with the hot hand, and they can continue to do that. I just think that regardless of how controversial Stuart Skinner is, his ceiling is higher than Pickard's, right? And Pickard is riding a team wave at the moment, which is the team is playing better in front of him for whatever reason.
I agree with
So
you in so much that I think if they're going to go deep, Stuart Skinner is going to have to get back into the net again. I'm
yeah,
with you there. In the short term, and I said this to Dave on the podcast the other night, you go back with Pickard because he won. It's like,
yeah,
especially
no,
when you were
exactly.
trailing in the series, it's just you got to do it.
I think the rest of I wouldn't be surprised. Rest of this playoff series, they go win and you're in, and it's as simple as that. You keep winning, you keep playing, and if you lose, they'll go to the other guy. And I'm not against that philosophy as long as the guy, let's say, keeps. I guess if a guy keeps winning, he can get totally worn out. But that's maybe take that
We'll
risk.
see. Well, and Pickard has not really played a lot of back to back to back. We got lucky this year in a way in that Stuart Skinner got a concussion timeout, and I don't mean that in the I'm glad he got injured kind of way in the slightest. I mean that in a it just meant that Pickard had a bunch of back to back to back games that really gave him some exposure to starter duties that he really hasn't had basically in any sort of recent memory.
Yep, that's a smart thought.
Let me just check his Calvin Pickard database to see, even in the minors, how many games has he played in recent. He played 43 games for Grand Rapids in 21-22. And then it looks like, there was a couple long playoff runs. In 22 playoffs, he played 21 games. And in the 23 playoffs, he played 23 games.
In the A, right?
No, excuse me. I'm looking at the one. That's a mistake. I was looking at the wrong number. That was his one loss record. That's how many games he won. No, he hasn't had long runs in the playoffs. And he's played half the games in the AHL, 21, 22, 23, and 23, 24. And then 24, 25, he played about half the games for the Oilers. He ended up playing in 36 games this year for the Oilers. So
Yeah.
he's getting it done. Winning, you're in. Works for me.
The governor.
The governor.
Well, like I said,
never heard that.
Yeah.
he inspires confidence in the players in front of him for whatever reason. I get it's fairly well known that he is a big part of that room. Some of the players were outspoken about that at an earlier point in the year. So, credit to him for earning that respect and earning that trust. You wish that there was a little bit more with that with Skinner, and you understand some of the reasons that there might not be right now. But Pickard's getting it done, and that's all you can really ask for.
You bet.
Stop that breakaway. Why the governor, Kurt?
Because he knows everybody because he's played for just about every team. So he goes into every rink and he knows the guys who clean the ice and he knows all
He's
the
the
trainers.
Tyson Berry of the goaltending department.
Kind of, yeah. He probably skates better than Tyson does, but
All right. Gotcha. Okay, I think we can end it there. They're playing again in 2 nights here in Edmonton.
blood in the water, man.
They got to win it.
Time for to finish the job.
Yep.
Yeah, blow them out.
They have to finish the job.
Yep.
Blow them out. All right,
Dum,
let's
dum.
see what happens next. Thanks for talking.
Next chance.
And in the meantime, and in between time, until we meet again, Bruce McCurdy, now having a cold one in the hall of our fathers with the hockey gourds, who tonight were on the side of the Edmonton Oilers. This has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.
Thanks for listening, everybody.